What's up, y'all? I'm So Beastly, episode 11. This is Mr. Richard. Um, as always, the countdown to 1 million subscribers based on the vision I had roughly a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Who knows? Who's counting? But we are 123 episodes away. 123, solid number, angel number. Fab Fab. Um, from that goal of episode 134, 1 million subscribers slash followers. Um, as of right now, we have not grown at all in the past few episodes. On YouTube, still have 24. On Spotify, we still have 9. But I can feel a surge coming. Like it's coming in soon. Okay, we're on the way. Um, also, below in the links my two books, Winston Feathersby, I'll let you know how it goes. And my latest creation is a novella dream journal. So check them out or don't, whatever. It's up to you. But this episode is about it's an interesting topic. Because we all experience this every single day, and it's not quite what we're told that it is. Okay. So the thing I want to talk about today is democracy. Why? Because why not? Um, so we've been told for our whole lives now in the United States, I'm USA. We've been told our whole lives that we live in a democracy, but that is just flat out not true. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a democratic republic. And there's a very fine distinction between the two. Similarities, of course, but there's a very fine distinction. Okay. Um, And the distinction honestly makes all the difference. It's a small one, but it makes all the difference. And so we're gonna get into that. I'll preface this by saying I am not one for politics. I don't watch the news. I don't really pay attention to it. I know who our president is. Other than that, I've heard a few names, but I couldn't tell you, certain things from a hill of beans. I don't get into it because honestly, it's a bunch of junk from both sides. Okay, so I'm firmly in the middle. I like some things on the conservative side, and I like some things on the Democrat side, on the liberal side, right? I enjoy things on both. I'm more in the middle. I think we need less government, of course, and this episode will probably lead into that. Um, but yeah, I'm in the middle. I don't. But honestly, who cares what our opinions are because they're just that, our opinions. So there's really no reason to care on what other people think one way or another, right? It doesn't make them a good or bad person. It's just something they think. It's not who they are, right? So we need to get past that. Of course, obviously, that is easier said than done for a lot of people, but it's just really not that important. And we're told that it's far more important than it is, but it's really not. Because as of right now, we really don't have a say as the general public. Um, so, but that's what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to discuss something, and part of it, I'll give credit to the TV show that really sparked this idea in me. I believe it last night or the night before. Um, so I was watching an episode of Black Mirror, and it was just a passing comment. Okay, the episode was about it was called the Waldo moment, and it's about this little blue bear named Waldo, and he goes on and he's voiced by a comedian. He starts talking junk to these politicians, and this animated bear ends up like entering the political race for some position. Is it English show? Um, So they're running for some position. And so it comes down to voting, and the producer, I believe, of the character, at one point he says a comment in passing, basically like um the people are able to make their own decisions. They have their phones, they have computers, they have Wi-Fi, they can look up all this information and make the decisions themselves. Basically just have an online form essentially, and they get to choose what they want for the different matters. Okay, and I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but basically, he described a proper democracy. Okay, um, and so the difference between a proper democracy and the democratic republic that we live in today is elected officials, elected representatives, right? Or representative democracy, democratic republic, basically the same thing. If not, please fact check me and let me know at, well, I guess I don't have an email on here per se. Ah, yes, of course, Mr. Richard Wrights at gmail.com. Okay. So let me know. Let me know if I'm speaking incorrectly on that matter. All right. But so a democracy is when the people truly have their voice for every single matter, right? So there's no need for representatives to tell us what we want to hear or tell us what we need, right? It's it's become commonplace that the people listen too much to these representatives, these politicians, instead of to their own wants and their own needs. And so then they start to believe these things that they hear without really understanding what's being said. And I'm no political wizard. I don't look into it too much. I don't vote. I don't vote. I don't necessarily see the need, right? Um, but then again, if we had this pure democracy, I would vote because my vote would actually matter, right? So in a pure democracy, for every single issue, the public would be able to vote on it, right? Um, all right, raise taxes for school system. People would get to vote on it. I mean, they do sometimes, but it goes through so many processes now before the people even get to decide, right? So every single thing that gets passed, that gets, lobbied into law would be voted on by the people. There would be no representatives. There'd be no need for lobbying, right? We would essentially eliminate lobbyists. We'd eliminate the companies paying the parties, to vote for their way, the sway. There'd be way too many people to sway, for they wouldn't be able to control it anymore. The power would go back to the people, right? And that's the issue. It's a ruse right now. We're under the impression that we have control, that we have the power, but in fact we do not, right? The representatives do, and in fact they don't even have the power. It's beyond them. But that's for a totally different episode that we don't need to get into. Um, but it would eliminate the power of the few and give the power back to the many in a pure democracy, right? So they would, we'd have an actual forum. It would be online, or they'd have polls open constantly. So every issue that came up, the people would get to vote on it, right? Every single thing that came up, the people would get to vote on it. And there's no need for representatives, right? We've been told that there's a need for them. There's no need for them. I mean, what do they do except for lie to us, right? When we vote for these big things, for these people to go into these offices, when we vote for our representatives, we're voting for the platform they tell us they're running on. But these people don't believe necessarily what they're running on. They have their own thoughts. They're told what to say. They're told to follow these party lines, right? And if they don't follow the party lines, a lot of times it's not because of them. It's because they're told to do this so these other things can happen, so that this third thing can happen. Okay? There's a lot of moving parts. But if we were able to get away from this representative democracy and to a pure, true democracy, then we could eliminate that. We could actually vote for the things that matter to us, right? And granted, the way it stands, it'd be very difficult. We'd still need to have one singular leader. However, you could still. Honestly, then again, I don't even think we would. I think if the system is pure, you might need someone to go into discussions with other countries if that were the case. However, I think we should abolish country lines and go back to like Pangea basically, but that's a whole nother discussion in itself, right? And I have my reasons. I understand both sides of it, so don't come at me with pitchforks. I understand both sides of it, right? But if if we did that, then we would truly have the voice, right? And like, yes, back to what I was saying, we would be able to actually vote for the things we believed in, right? Most people are not dead set conservative or dead set liberal, right? There are tons of conservatives who agree with some liberal viewpoints and vice versa. There just are, all right? No one is one way or the other. It's not like that. They have views on both sides, okay? And it would also destroy so much arguing and disputes. And granted, it would go back down to singular issues as opposed to party lines. But, and I've said this forever, abolishing the party system is going to be the best way to unify the states. I mean, simply put, we are called the United States of America, but we are far from united. Honestly don't know if we've ever truly been united, right? You could pull up any time frame and not just go by what they're feeding to you know, the mainstream, but I mean, honestly, have we ever been truly united? Maybe, maybe not. And that's, it's unfortunate. Okay? It's unfortunate, and that's really what we need to be working toward is truly being, united. As it stands right now, we need to come closer together and simply vote for loving each other, love our neighbor, right? It's been a common practice for thousands of years, or a common preached belief. Yes, you can say it comes from wherever you want, but the love frequency, the love vibration is incredibly strong. And the more we preach love, and I use preach for lack of a better word, but the more we spread love, right? And I think I had an episode on that. The more we spread the love, the more it gets, you know, the more it'll bounce around like a pinball. Boom, boom, boom. I put out the love, you put out the love. Then all of a sudden, two more people are putting out the love, then four, then eight, then 16, and it just continues to grow. And then all of a sudden, the whole world's putting out the love, and then we're not arguing over dumb stuff that we really can't control, that honestly most of us don't even understand, including myself in a lot of issues. One, I just don't see the need to do the research because it honestly doesn't matter in the end because we're just constantly being lied to from both sides, from all around. But that's politics. That's what they're here for. It's about persuasion, and you know, it does work, but that's that. So anyway, I will get back to the topic at hand. The best thing for us as a whole nation, as a whole world, is a true, pure democracy with no elected officials. Just pure democracy. The people have all the say, and you don't give a lot of power to the few. Okay? You're not giving too much power to one person. I mean, we can pretty much see that in almost every civilization ever, every kingdom, every monarchy, pretty much every civilization in history, there has been unrest, you know, at a high level. Usually it ends in death or something along those lines. It doesn't end well. It usually does not end well most of the time. Perhaps we try something different, right? Maybe we figure something else out, but honestly, we're fighting over the wrong things, the wrong issues. We shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves. By doing so, we completely take the power out of our own hands and give it to the people who shouldn't have it. We need to take the power back and we need to somehow get to a true democracy. Will it happen? Probably not. Probably not ever, right? There's too much money in the current system. But Anyway, just think about, just take a moment to think about it. Think about the system we're in. Think about if you truly have a voice, and honestly, think about it if it actually matters. If what someone else is thinking, what their opinion is, what they say, if it actually matters, does it actually change them as a person? Are they a good person? Yes. Then who cares what they believe? Are they a bad person? Maybe. But honestly, who cares what they believe? Because what they believe doesn't necessarily affect their character. It only affects their character if it affects their actions. But if their actions are proper, then, who cares? It shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter, right? But we need to think of anyway. We'll get into it. We'll have a whole nother episode on something like that. However, this episode, we need to have a democracy and not a democratic republic. Otherwise, the power is in the wrong hands. But, that's all I've got here. This has been episode 11. I'm Mr. Richard. This is I'm So Beastly. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. Do your thing. Um, or don't. That's up to you. But we've had a good time, and thank you for joining us. Come back next time where we discuss how perception is reality, a key theme in my entire thought process. So I'll see you next week, folks. Well, not next week, next episode. All right, ta-ta.